Good morning, everyone. Hi, Willow. Hi, Willow. Hey, everybody. Just checking in. My name is Courtney. I'm here at Goats with Horns Animal Sanctuary and Real-Time Rescue. Hello, Butters. Oh, look at those handsome teeth. Oh, you're so cute. Hi, Butters. He's cheesing for you guys. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Oh, hello, Merman. Everybody missed you. If you guys are new here or old, welcome or welcome back. Thanks for joining us this morning. We are an animal sanctuary in Arizona in the Sonoran Desert of the United States. And it's been a little while since I've done a live stream. It would have been great to film, but it was almost an emergency situation. Last week we had flash flooding. I could actually not even get here in my vehicle. I had to park way, down the road and have another volunteer in an SUV pick me up. Like I said, we are in the desert, but we get monsoon, extreme rains here. Everything is extreme. So just on Thursday, it was so flooded here that on Thursday we had 10,000 pounds, 5 tons of dirt delivered, and every bit of it is gone, and we could even use more. And what volunteers did with the dirt is they spread it over this area because it's not enclosed. We don't have an actual barn, but this is our enclosed barn type of area. And there was so much standing water in the field and the rain was coming down so hard that this whole area was flooded. The stalls were completely flooded. The cow stalls were under, in some places, in a couple places, almost like 10 inches of water, not the whole thing, but it was crazy. So they had to put, like I said, 10,000 pounds of dirt down in order to absorb some of that water and mud. And actually, real quick, speaking of water and mud, I need to make sure I let the pressure off the hose. So real quick, just a little fun fact in the desert here, if you leave water in the hose, like even though I turned the water off, but there's still water stored inside the hose. If you leave the pressure on and allow that water to stay in, the sun is so strong, it will cause the water inside to heat up so much that the steam will expand and the hoses will explode. So here in the desert, we actually go through a lot of hoses. It's actually quite an expense because good durable hoses are very expensive. So I need to always remember to let the pressure off. Some other areas they put so much dirt in was these extremely flooded cow stalls. Good morning, guys. Everyone's finishing up here. You can see where Nala here is standing. Hi, Nala. There's still some, spots of mud. But I mean, that mud is because all that dirt was poured on top and the water just absorbed. Like if she would have been in there, it would have been, up to maybe halfway to the first joint in her leg. It was so flooded. So we couldn't put the cows away and we couldn't lock everybody up into the stalls because, it was just so flooded. We had bowls of hay floating in the water so that the hay wouldn't just get lost. We had long planks of wood that were, oh, hi, girly, that were coming out of the hut there because, Julio, one of our pigs, kind of got stuck in there. I mean, he could have waded through, he wouldn't have floated away or anything, but it was just so dense and he was so stressed. And so that little crate thing, it's on an old, what's called pallet. The water was coming up through the bottom of the pallet because it was so flooded. And so he couldn't, eat or get away from the water because the food would have just floated away. So like I said, we actually put some bowls of food in the water so it would float, like kind of like bobbing for apples. It was terrible. And then recently too, I got a new phone. First world problems. I could not get StreamYard to work, and StreamYard is how I live stream to all you guys. Karen, though, our other live streamer and educator, she resent me, some information of how to get logged back in and everything. And it took me a few tries this morning, but I finally got it working. Hi, Willow. Hi, Willow. So, like I said, I haven't been on in a while. So usually I just come on Sunday mornings and I go over, any little updates, any news, anything that's been going on of note. And definitely the flooding was of note. We also had vet appointments recently. Look at Chico going to town on that Salt Lick. Good boy. Where we were told by our wonderful vet that Rapunzel here and Gilbert, one of our oldest goats, probably the oldest, they're a little too skinny. So now they are on supplemental feed as well. It's almost time for me to kick all these guys out, though, because the ducks are waiting to be fed, and I can't feed the ducks until these guys are out because they'll just eat all the duck food, and it's not good for you. It's not good for you. I see your bowl is empty. He had a little almost Thanksgiving type feast. He had just a little bit of hay pellets, and then he had some green onion, some carrots. I made him a little peanut butter sandwich just to pack in some calories. What else was in there? Oh, some cranberries, a couple grapes. Oh, sorry, girl. This is empty. I'm not trying to tease you. Speaking of Thanksgiving, I also did bring a pumpkin today, so I'm going to have to dice that up for everybody. We used to just, throw big pumpkins in here, kind of smash. If you throw them with enough force, they'll kind of smash, burst open, and then everyone would just run over, try to get little chunks. But we had instances where animals were choking on some of the bigger pieces, and we do not want that to happen. So now we cut them very small. Anything hard like carrots or squashes, we dice them up very small, so we don't have a catastrophe. It's really hard to perform the Heimlich or CPR on a cow or a goat or a sheep. So we just want to avoid things like that. Chico's still going to town on that Salt Lick. Speaking of, during the flooding, one of the salt licks over there that was kind of submerged in the water, I think it completely dissolved. I don't even see it anymore. There was like this salty film around the salt block, and it was just like floating in the water. Hi, buddy. Yeah, I know. You guys are like, why are you holding an empty bowl? If this was full, I would be surrounded. I only have a couple little friends by me right now, but I'd be getting mauled or mobbed over here. So one of our safety precautions is we don't really feed the animals treats like that just out in the field. Once I dice up the pumpkin a little later, I'm going to stand on the outside of the field and then throw pieces as far as I can to spread out so everybody can get them. I can't even remember if you've been introduced to our newest hens. I think you might have. Like I said, I can't recall how long ago it is that I've live streamed. But here's one of them. We've got Trixie. She's a pretty girl. Oh, here comes her friends. So we've got 4 new hens. Hi, girlies. So I'll just give a brief overview of their story again, just in case I haven't yet. So these 4 girls came. Are you cleaning off my sweatshirt? Do I have some leftover crumbs on there? These 4 friendly, sassy girls came when their wonderful owner, who loved them very much, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer, and she inevitably did pass away. But before she did, she was able to find her daughter was able to find them all sanctuary here. They're just like, do I have food on me? Or are you just pecking me? Okay, Trixie, calm down. So yeah, we've got Betty and Trixie. Hi, girly. Jinx and Amber. So they're kind of always together. They're young. I don't think they're quite 1 year old yet. But look at them. They're just pecking me. What are you girls doing? You getting all the tiny pieces of hay off of me? Should I be thanking you, or are you being naughty? No, they're not. They're very sweet. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Lady A. One other little update. We have Fernando here. So he's our male turkey, And because of how turkeys have been bred to just basically be way too big, to put on so much weight, to get fat for farmers to then kill and for, people to eat that eat animals. Here at Goats with Horns, we advocate, not eating animals, choosing plant-based diets instead. But Fernando here, even though he was like born free and everything, he still suffers from all the inbreeding and the genetic modifications that farms have done to broad-breasted turkeys. So he gets very sore. For months, he was barely move out from under a bush. He was just in pain because he's bigger than he should be. And it's not a matter of being overweight, like needing to go on a diet. It's just that's how he was bred. And so it causes pain on his joints and his legs. So he's now on pain medication, and it has really made a big difference for him. So just within this last week or so, he finally took to roosting back on the fence, which he hadn't done in months and months and months. He finally felt good, well enough to hop up onto the fence and roost up there. So this morning we were saying that the chickens are being bougie, they're being a little spoiled, and the birds too, because also Fernando. But because he was roosting up on the fence, we would then put his pain pill goes in a grape with a bunch of other feed, and then we put it up on the roof of whatever coop is closest to him, and then let him hop up to eat that food before he let the chickens out. Otherwise, everybody else will try to eat his food. But today, I went over to check his bowl, and he hadn't eaten almost any of it. So then I was trying to get him that grape, Nando. But then he was like not wanting to eat it, and he wouldn't really eat. So then I didn't want the chickens to eat it, because at that point everybody else was out, so they were trying to get it. So I was trying to throw cranberries to distract them, and then finally he ate his grape. So, and then Miss Pie Pie, who's around here somewhere, if you guys aren't new here, I'm sure you've seen seen us talk about Pie Pie, our precious little old hen with the one leg, and she gets a special food bowl. And this morning I go in to let her out, and she hadn't touched her food, but then I picked up a couple pieces and I was like hand feeding her, and then she would eat. She would only eat if I like hand fed her or put it right in front of her face, and she'd pick it up off of the ground. So yeah, everyone is being a little bougie today, but that's okay. We love the fact that we're able to spoil these animals and give them a good life. Pretty much winding up for the day. Like I said, I do need to dice up a pumpkin. The girls are following me still. Hi. Hi, pretty girl. Hi, pretty girl. Yeah, so anyways, I am glad to be back live streaming after a couple to few weeks. And I'd love to know, if there's anything specific you guys would like to see, if there's any animals whose, stories you'd like to hear, or maybe you have questions about, I don't know, anything, any of these guys or any of these animals. That would be great if you could just leave us a comment down below or a question, and we can go back and read those and try to get back to that. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys again real soon. Have a good one. Bye.